Thanks so much for staying with us here on News Talk. Bruce DePoit with you on this Monday. This has been a bad month for the Lerner family. Their baseball team, the Nationals, has the worst record in baseball over the last few weeks, 4 up, 13 down. And now the billionaire developers come out on the wrong end of a lawsuit with a high-profile tenant. Washington Post business reporter Jonathan O'Connell has been tracking the fate of the once glamorous White Flint Mall, and he joins us now. Welcome back. It's good to have you here.
Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it.
I drove by White Flint Mall Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember which. All I can say is, wow. White Flint Mall is not what it was. Talk about the court fight that you covered over the last few days. White Flint, I guess it's Lord & Taylor versus White Flint Mall.
Yeah, if you go by the mall now, you see Lord & Taylor operating really in a sea of empty parking, and still a bit of rubble out there from some of the buildings that have been torn down, and then the vacant kind of portion of the mall that's still standing. But Lord & Taylor was one of 3 anchors that really made White Flint the sort of destination it was back in the day. And they opened by signing this lease in 1975, basically saying they could be there in perpetuity. I mean, they can go at least till 2042. And, you know, in the meantime, in the last 10 years, the mall really it kind of lost its luster to a large degree. And a number of stores closed. Bloomingdale's closed in 2012. And when they lost Bloomingdale's, that was really about a third of the mall, and they didn't figure out how to replace it. And then they decided, the owners of the mall decided, we need to close the mall. The problem being legally, that original contract from 1975 said they must keep operating a mall there,
right,
to appease Lord & Taylor, to keep Lord & Taylor's contract.
So there's been this desire, this push for a long time. I presume it's coming from the Lerners, but correct me if I'm wrong. So White Flint, a traditional mall with anchor stores and tons of parking and indoors, right? And they want to reimagine the whole thing as much more of a town center, which is fine, very legitimate. But they didn't read the contract, or they thought they could bluff, they could just muscle Lord & Taylor away, even though Lord & Taylor had some language that you've already referenced in the contract that'd be very beneficial, very advantageous to their desire to remain. I mean, what was the calculation?
It was an interesting case because Lord & Taylor really argued very directly, you broke our contract, you should pay us millions of dollars for doing that.
Right.
The Lerners, who are the main owners of the mall, argued separately. They sort of argued this mall could not have continued. The mall, you know, a lot of malls are going out of business. We could not have saved this mall. Your business would have been affected had we closed the mall down, and we had it closed anyway. We should try something new, and we are trying something new. We're trying this outdoor town center with shopping and apartments and offices, and your business will thus do better as a result of this. How can we owe you money if we're doing something that will help your company? Now, the Lerner's case was hurt by the fact that in a deposition that Ted Lerner gave, he said that he hadn't read the contract, and another official said he hadn't read the contract. Because and I think that really is because they're thinking, we're doing what's best for the property here. It will help all the tenants that come back or remain will benefit from this. And keeping a mall there that was really kind of in a tough spot wasn't going to help them anyway, so we should all move on. Now, the jury, for the most part, didn't really see eye to eye with Lerner.
This was a federal court case with a 6-person jury. We're used to the 12-person jury we sometimes sit on or whatever.
Well, let's start with 8. Somebody got sick, and then the 7th person didn't agree with the 6 jurors that made the verdict. So the 7th, and then by federal court rules, they could go with a verdict under with just the 6.
So what was the trial like? What was it about?
Well, they're super high-profile law firms, right? They've been fighting behind the scenes for 2 years, and there's been settlement discussions. Of course, this could have all gone away if they could have just agreed on amount of money, right? If the Lerners had said, okay, yeah, we did tear down the mall, we'll write you a check for X amount, then or the Lord & Taylor could have agreed on that. This would have never happened. But both are just at loggerheads for years. Both decide we're going to try with a jury. So you have, on one hand, you have Lerner's COO, the guy who runs both the baseball team and the real estate business. On the other side, you have a very high-ranking executive and the parent of Lord & Taylor who flies in from out of town. And you have these 2 law firms that are going at it. And the discussion really is, I feel badly for those jurors who sat for 2 weeks watching some of this, is the discussion really was, could and should White Flint Mall have been saved? And if Lerner's argument was legitimate, like we could not have saved the mall, we did everything we could, we tried to keep it an enclosed mall, then the jury could potentially have been swayed their direction. On the other hand, Lord & Taylor said the contract says you have to have an enclosed mall. Keep it open at any cost. And that was the back and forth for the most part.
That's interesting because to a non-lawyer, just thinking about the sort of the words on the page, maybe oversimplifying by pulling one sentence out of a document that's probably 100 pages. But if there's a commitment to have an open to operate a certain type of mall for a certain length of time. They're in violation, and the only issue is how much should the compensation be. It's interesting, the notion that you advanced, that if they could have made the case that it was an untenable situation going
economically
forward,
impossible,
that maybe that negates the words on the page. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there was, someone had suggested to me maybe that the jury would rule on Lord & Taylor's behalf but not provide any damages and say, you're right, your contract was breached, but because of this new idea that we think will benefit you, you're not owed any money. And in the end, Lord & Taylor ended up asking for $60 million thereabouts, around $31 million for the business they feel like they've lost because of the situation out there now, and another $34 million for building a new store that they think will fit in with the new town center thing, and the jury gave them 31. So it seems like they gave them the money that is for the lost business, rather than helping them build a new store. But it'll be interesting going forward because Lord & Taylor's going to stay open. Like, they've been battling in court all this time, and now they're going to have to be a tenant landlord for another probably 20 years, or could be longer.
This is going to have a major impact on for the broader vision of what I guess the learners, I presume, want the site to be. Less the old style mall, more the new era town center concept. They're going to have to, so they go to the architects now and say, we still want to do it, but we're going to have to sort of absorb this thing that's there.
Well, they actually did that originally. They said, we're going to keep Lord & Taylor here. This is how the customers will get to your store. This is the surroundings that you'll have. So they were planning on keeping Lord & Taylor the whole time, which is part of the reason why some people found Lord & Taylor's argument disingenuous, because Lord & Taylor was aware of these discussions. They participated in some of the discussions about redevelopment, but they seemed sort of on board for it, and then kind of turned around and sued him in court, and then stuck with that lawsuit for quite a while, which still I think the learners just found really kind of insincere and unbelievable.
Underscoring all of this is the staying power of the town center concept in modern land use planning, modern in the way retail and other communities are being developed. This idea of multi-mode, of having transit at the center of it, and having maybe office and housing and retail all together. That's a potent idea at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are working really well. Not all of them, but if you've been ever to the Mosaic District out in Fairfax County, that one has just gone gangbuster. Now I'm talking the retail has done well, the office has done well, people are buying houses and condos there for really high prices. So that's the idea that the learners wanted to do at White Flint, and there's another one near there called Pike and Rose, which is kind of the same kind of idea, which has done very well so far. That's the new thing, right? Real estate is kind of just like building the new thing a lot of the time, and in this case, having just a mall with a lot of parking around it that was difficult to get to, tough traffic situation, not a lot else to do there, just wasn't working for them anymore.
Do you know if the learners intend to appeal, and did you get any flavor of, any sense of bad blood or lingering animosity between landlord and tenant?
They will appeal. They were disappointed in that ruling. They did not expect to come out of there owing $31 million. So they say they will appeal. The learners have run an incredibly successful, very private real estate company in this town for a long time. Yeah. They were probably the principal people behind Tyson's Corner, but they do not like to be messed with, and they will have made that known to Lord & Taylor.
A rough month, as we said, with the team's fortunes going south, and now this. Interesting to get the details, though, behind the scenes from Federal Court. Washington Post business reporter Jonathan O'Connell. Always great having you here.
I appreciate it, Bruce.
Thank you for your time. Yeah. We'll step aside. Back with more News Talk right after this.